What is up, everybody? Kicking it off with, of course, the Fisherman's Friends, not sponsored. They are from manufactured in Lofthouse, Fleetwood, Lancaster, England, or Lancs, England, and distributed by Greenwood Brands of Buffalo, Niagara, New York. So there you go. Now you know everything you need to know about Fisherman's Friends. All right, let's see. Get into the numbers here real quick, and then we're going to look at your DraftKings stuff. There's some surprising stuff, in my opinion, from DraftKings. A couple of guys I definitely would take as value picks, or if you're doing your fantasy deal for entertainment purposes only, of course. But we will get into those. Zach Bishop, what's up, man? My main man, the GOAT. Much love from Boone, North Carolina. What's up, man? Good morning, Mike Davis. Joey Logano today. He's got a Joey Logano pick. Camaro 50, how's your back? It's a little tight, but it's much better than it was. I will say that. I was at the racetrack last night helping out a little bit with some people, basically on some light duty. So I did get a little stuffed up from the cold weather. And it was a full moon, and people, goodness gracious, full moon, and people were acting out. It was the last race of the season for that particular track. It was, man, they got after it. But thanks, appreciate all that. Let me get to the numbers here real quick. So since 2019, of course, Chase Elliott with average finish of 4.7 in 3 races, 2 wins in those 3 races. So he's obviously going to be your favorite, no doubt about it. 2 top 5s, 2 top 10s. He's led 20% of the laps. If you round it up, 19.6% of the laps led. Joey Logano, though, to my man's point a minute ago, who said, let's pick Logano, average finish of 6.3 in 3 races. No wins, 1 top 5, but 3 top 10s, and he has led 2% of the laps in that race. Alex Bowman, obviously not in the race, but he's got good numbers here as well. Alex Bowman with a 6.7 average finish in 3 races, 1 top 5 and 3 top 10s. Of course, Alex Bowman will not be in this one. Kyle Larson, though, would be your third man up since Bowman's not in here with an average finish of 7th. He is tied with Tyler Reddick for average finish of 7th. He has 1 win here. Reddick has no wins at the Roval. That, of course, could change today. As DraftKings has those 2 as your 2 top picks, but 1 top 5 apiece for them and 1 top 10 apiece for them. Kyle Larson has led 6% of the laps. Tyler Reddick, he's in the I don't think he's led a lap there. Ryan Blaney, 7.3 average finish in 3 races, 1 top 5, 3 top 10s. William Byron, 7.7 average finish, 2 top 10s, 24% of the laps led, though. That's interesting. 2 top 10s and 24% of the laps led. Denny Hamlin, average finish of 13th, 7% of the laps led, 1 top 5, 1 top 10. Cole Custer, average finish of 13.5. There you go. Put Cole Custer on your list. Let's see what kind of odds Cole Custer's getting, just because that's very interesting. Custer is plus 3,000, plus 800 for a top 3, and plus 400 for a top 5. Yep. So there you go, Custer. Custer might be a sleeper there. 2 races, 1 top 10. Chris Buescher, don't sleep on him. Average finish 13.7, 1 top 5, 1 top 10. Martin Truex Jr., 2 top 10s, 0.3% of the laps led. Brad Keselowski, also Truex and Keselowski have an average finish of 14.3. Keselowski has 1 top 5 and 1 top 10 and has led 3% of the laps. And don't forget, RFK has been dangerous on the road courses, so don't sleep on them. Kevin Harvick, average finish of 15.7 in the 3 races, 1 top 5, 1 top 10. And Christopher Bell, in 2 races, has a 1 top 10 and has led 2.8% of the laps. I wouldn't sleep on Christopher Bell either. So those are your numbers for specifically the Roval. Then road courses overall, it's going to be Chase Elliott with a 6.9 and 6 wins. Kyle Larson with an 11.2 and 4 wins. Denny Hamlin, 12.2. Chris Buescher, 12.4. Ryan Blaney, Martin Truex Jr., Alex Bowman, Tyler Reddick, Austin Cindric, Joey Logano, Kurt Busch, and A.J. Allmendinger. Of course, don't sleep on the Dinger. All right, so those are your numbers. get to the comments real quick. What's up, kid? How's the back? The back is a little stiff, but it's much better than it was the other day. It was did a little light duty at the racetrack last night, so got a little stuffed up. But the back held up. I got a little sore toward the end of the night, more sore than normal. So I shut it down and went home. Let's see. The back is good. Appreciate it, Mike Davis, Bumblebee. Josh Kruger, if Denny complains today, I swear. So that's the thing. Let's talk about that real quick. Denny Hamlin made those bold comments, said a lot of stuff, and then he backtracked them pre-race last race, right? He didn't backtrack them, but he was very apologetic, and he just was talking out of both sides of his mouth as far as that goes. But let's be honest, we know why he did it. He didn't want to get penalized. He doesn't want to be on NASCAR's bad side. So can you really hate him for that? I mean, it was tactical. He said the right things. So I think he still believes what he originally said, but I think he's trying to play nice with NASCAR. So 2311 and the 11 car probably, don't get the Harvick treatment. If you believe the Harvick theory, not everybody does. It is what it is. Let's see. Bumblebee says AJ Allmendinger is going to win today. That's that's not a bad. Wow. That is not a bad pick. I like AJ Allmendinger here. And he's got some momentum coming off the previous races in the Xfinity series. Molten Rage. Let's see. I swear to God, if we see the 11 pulling Harvick 2021 and Rex the 24, that would be funny. I will give him a penalty myself. I swear the 11 is going to make the 24's day a living hell. That could be very true, but I don't know if that will happen because Denny Hamlin could get paid back too. I haven't looked to see exactly who's locked in, but I'm not sure that Denny Hamlin is all the way locked in. Let me know down in the comments below. Is Denny Hamlin actually locked in? Because if Denny Hamlin's not locked in, I wouldn't pull that move because the 24 could go and get him right back. Bumblebee, not a Hamlin fan. She said, to hell with old overrated Hamlin as well. Bishop, Zach Bishop, Kyle all day, Kyle Larson all day, he's saying for sure. Interestingly enough, Kyle Busch is not in here. We know Kyle Busch is a pretty good road racer, actually, but his statistics at the Roval have not been good. Hamlin is just an old man yelling at a cloud to me. That is says Bumblebee. That is a take that Dirty Mo Media, the Dale Jr. Download, also has. Mike Davis says that list is getting mighty long, and it's they poked a little fun that he keeps saying he's going to pay these guys back and hasn't done it yet. So that is a very popular opinion about that. Angus 420 said that would be hilarious, Moulton. A lot of people not happy with Alex Bowman. My particular stance on that is Alex Bowman should have been penalized, and he should have been penalized 8 to 10 points because that's technically how many points Denny Hamlin lost. But I really wanted to focus on that's NASCAR's fault. NASCAR missed it live and didn't penalize William Byron live, and there's no way they missed it. I think there's no way they didn't see that. And then after the fact, they penalized them too many points. Yes, I realize it's in the rule book that you have to penalize 25 points, but that is an antiquated rule from an older point system. They never adjusted those points for the current point system. So that's once again a NASCAR failure. And NASCAR also failed because they didn't adjust that penalty. And when they sent it to the appeals court looked at the penalty, probably is what I'm guessing. This is just a guess. They looked at the penalty and they said the penalty doesn't fit the crime. So essentially, he gets off scot-free because of NASCAR's negligence. And you can say, oh, it's because he drives for Hendrick. That's a fair enough point. These bigger teams, I've been very vocal about that. Bigger teams do get away with a lot more than smaller teams. But once again, at the end of the day, this is NASCAR's problem because if NASCAR had handled it in the race, if they had put him to the tail end of the longest line, or if they had made him do a pass-through penalty and lose a lap, we're not even talking about this. NASCAR screwed up, and NASCAR is getting off the hook by being completely negligent once again, and everybody is mad at Rick Hendrick and William Byron when really everybody should be mad at NASCAR because they fumbled it so bad. So it is what it is. That was my only point about it. Like NASCAR is getting off the hook because everybody's mad at Hendrick and William Byron when really everybody should be mad at NASCAR. That's my only point about that. Kevin Harvick would love to have a word with you, Bumblebee. Zach Bishop, get the likes up, y'all. Yeah, I appreciate it. If you guys want to hit the like button, that would be cool. If not, don't worry about it. At least Harvick can win titles. Here we go. Harvick versus Hamlin, which ironically enough, they've teamed up to talk junk about NASCAR. So in a way, they have teamed up. Rank the 3 for this race, the 16, the 9, and the 12. I would put the 9 first. I would put the, let's see here. Let me look at Blaney. I will put Blaney second, and I will put Allmendinger third. But that is only based on numbers. I think if you're going off of pure talent, I would put Chase Elliott first, AJ Allmendinger second, and Ryan Blaney third. I only say this because Ryan Blaney, he got a win at the Roval, but it was because Martin Truex Jr. and Jimmy Johnson wrecked each other. I think he's really good at getting top 10s at the Roval. I don't think, and he might prove me wrong today, but I don't think he's figured out how to win and dominate at a Roval yet. I think Chase Elliott and AJ Allmendinger can go out there and win and dominate on a Roval. And that being said, don't forget about Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick's the new road course guy. So, and also there's Kyle Larson out there. And Chase Elliott fans are going to be like, yeah, he's gonna spin Chase Elliott out to win the race again, or you know. So, but don't forget about Tyler Reddick and Kyle Larson. They're both also very good at road courses. And RFK has been knocking on the door of a road course. And if you look at Brad Keselowski's numbers at road courses, specifically at the Roval, Brad Keselowski could be your sleeper here. And like I said, if you look at Brad Keselowski's numbers, he is plus 10,000. He is a massive value bet. And Eric Jones is also a really good road course racer. He might not have had the results to show for it, but Eric Jones is a good road course racer, at least from his days at Gibbs. He is also plus 10,000. So those are definitely, for entertainment purposes only, very good value picks. Let's see. Engagements pays the bills like this stream, says Zach Bishop. Appreciate it. Hamlin just cries wolf too much for me. He's done a lot of wrong, then goes off. Yeah, so that's that is a common criticism of Denny Hamlin. He has rules that are good for me, but not good for thee. To say it in that particular term, he's a hypocrite, like a lot of us are. He doesn't like it when something is done to him, but he will do it to other people. So that is a criticism that a lot of people have of Denny Hamlin. And I can definitely see that. I understand that 100% where they're coming from with that. And he also has claimed he's going to pay back a lot of people, and we have not seen the receipts for that yet. So particularly Ross Chastain. He's had a lot of opportunities to pay back Ross Chastain, and all of the Denny Hamlin supporters were like, wait till the playoffs, wait till the playoffs. Well, the playoffs are here. We're almost about halfway through the playoffs, just about, and still no payback for Ross Chastain. So we'll just have to see how that goes. Me personally, hopefully we don't see any payback, and hopefully Denny doesn't keep claiming payback, because one of my only real criticism of Denny Hamlin is sometimes he gets caught up in this drama. He gets caught up in this minute drama, and I think it takes his focus away from the main goal of winning the championship. And I think he's definitely a championship caliber driver. Whether you like his personality or not, I think he's a championship caliber driver, and he gets caught up in this emotional drama sometimes, and I think it takes his focus a little bit. Epileptic Bumblebee says, "Is that Barks?" No, that is not Barks. That is Old Chubb from Oscar Blues. Trying to get my throat calmed down here. Chrome Diesel, shout out to the Russian racer Daniel Kvyat. I hope I said his name right. Finishing 15th yesterday in the Xfinity Roval race. So I haven't had a chance to see any of that Xfinity stuff. I know Josh Berry locked in, and I think didn't Davidson have a really good run as one of the international drivers as well? Well, I think he had a good run. Not 100% sure. I didn't get to see any of it, and I got home so late that I didn't. I have not had a chance to look at anything. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I woke up about 2 hours ago, so I am team struggle bus, and I didn't even do anything to feel this bad so much as I just stayed out in the cold weather too long and stayed up way too late. And I'm an old man, so that's just the way it's going. Robin Marks, take off from the Great White North. I'm going to cheer for AJ. What's up, Canada? Always good to hear from Canada. What's up, Robin Marks? AJ is definitely a good pick, no doubt about it. How about Chris Buescher? Oh, yeah, Chris Buescher. You got to put him up there with the RFK. Bumblebee said, do you think he's got a shot today? Chris Buescher's absolutely got a shot. The only reason I was saying Brad Keselowski, Chris Buescher is only plus 3,000. That's why Brad Keselowski is the value bet at plus 10,000. So, put your money down for entertainment purposes only. That's the only reason I mentioned Keselowski over Buescher. But Buescher has had better results on the road course this season over top of Keselowski. No doubt about it. Molten Rage, Alex Bowman, ? Alex Bowman's good here. Unfortunately, he's not racing, and it's unfortunate. They had the big meeting. The NASCAR drivers have finally raised their concerns about the safety meeting. The NASCAR Team Alliance has raised their concerns about the new TV deal, so there could possibly be a split or a strike or something like that in the future if the teams don't start getting more of the money. I can't remember, but it's somebody reported that the teams are only getting 7%, and NASCAR has said that's not true. They're getting more than that. Blah blah blah. They're getting into it about money. Joe Blow says Larson wins today. Yeah, it definitely could happen. No doubt about it. Good to see NASCARing at full level. LOL. Yeah, it's been a great week for NASCAR, right? Just everything. So much drama due to NASCAR. You got the William Byron thing. You got the teams trying to go on strike, and you got the drivers that possibly might do something if the safety doesn't get better. And I don't think that they were happy with the modifications to the rear bumper that NASCAR showed them that were going to happen. So great off week not off week, but great in between week for NASCAR. What's wrong with Larson? Really want to see him up there. I don't think Sonny V says, I don't think anything is wrong with Larson. He's just not, he won 10 races last year. So we basically got used to every other week Larson won a race, or even more than that at some points in the season. He's having a really good year. He is top 5. He's having a top 5 points year. He just hasn't won 10 races like he did last year. I think he's had a really good year. Chase Elliott's just had a much better year. So I don't think Larson is necessarily having a bad season so much as he just had such a good season. He had an all-time season last year, and that was my concern. He's actually done better this year than I thought he would, because you look at some of these guys that have these 10-win seasons, and then their next season, some of them don't even win a race, and then some of them just have a 1-win season. A lot of times when you have a big season like that, it is followed up with a really terrible season. So Larson has actually impressed me with the fact that he has come through and he's still top 5 in points. He's got a couple wins. I have actually been impressed by that. Zach Bishop says AJ is a beast. No doubt about it, especially at super speedways and road courses. AJ Allmendinger is the man, and he's full-time next year, so that's going to be fun to watch. Let's see, AJ Allmendinger being a repeat Xfinity Roval winner. Now he has won 4 of the past Xfinity Roval races. He's a Hall of Famer. I don't care. I don't know about Hall of Famer. That's going to be an interesting, when he retires, he's going to be an interesting case for the Hall of Fame, right? So that'll be interesting to watch. And he's still got plenty of career left. So, but definitely he'll be somebody that gets a definite look. Yeah. I'll leave it at that because that's so far off. But I don't know about definite Hall of Famer, but I think he will be. He'll be up there. Mike Davis, that's a bad hat too, buddy. Have a great day. Take care. I appreciate it, Mike Davis. Got the old the Tide Ride hat. One of the first NASCAR posters I ever had was Darrell Waltrip's 17 Tide. It was called The Machine. It said The Machine across the top of it. And it was just a really cool poster. I've always liked the Tide colors, and I'm glad that they're on the petty car at this stage in NASCAR, but I've always loved the Tide Ride, even when Ricky Rudd drove it. I've talked about how I hated Ricky Rudd because he ruined my Wilkesboro experience when him and Earnhardt got into it, because Earnhardt was going to win that race. Everybody knows that, and he ruined it. But I ended up liking Ricky Rudd toward the end of his career. I mellowed out quite a bit. I was such a Dale Earnhardt homer. But Ricky Rudd's a man, and I really didn't hate. I remember hating Ricky Rudd, I think, more than I actually hated him, because I was going through some of my hero cards, and I had some stuff autographed by Ricky Rudd. So I don't think I was a real Ricky Rudd hater. I think I just remember hating him more than I do. I think I've taken that intense hatred that day at Wilkesboro and in my mind spread it over a career that didn't really exist. I don't think I really hated the guy as much as I remember hating him in my mind. But that's neither here nor there. The Xfinity race was awesome. Yeah, I definitely need to watch that. I saw a lot of people talking about it. I was trying to check Twitter in between. But of course, as the racetrack sort of filled up, we lost reception. And then I couldn't check it anymore. I did see that Josh Berry transferred because a lot of people were, because obviously at a late model race, everybody talks about Josh Berry because he's a late model guy too. Let's see. Do you think Larson wanted to start the back for a chance to pass more cars for more points, says Joey, for the win? It could be. It could be. I guess we're doing late model points in NASCAR now. He just wants to get maximum passing points. I think you only get passing points if you win the race, though. So he would have to pass them and win the race. This is a joke. This is how late model rules, late model points work, by the way, at some tracks. And I think it works for the national championship like that as well, if I'm not mistaken. Mark Barnum, he said pissed off that Davidson ruined Herbst's chance to move to the round of 8. I don't know. Did he wreck him? I'm like I said, I didn't get a chance to catch that race. I don't know if he wrecked him or did he move him, or did he take a position from him? Not 100% sure what was going on there. Like I said, I didn't get a chance to catch it yet. It is on my list of I will catch it when they put it on YouTube. Mike Davis, but high or low, which Chris B places better at the end? Take a shot to that. I think Christopher Bell. If you look at Christopher Bell's numbers here, and then you look, he's only had 2 races. He's got 1 top 10. And he led 2.8% of the laps. I like Christopher Bell's odds here, but Chris Buescher in 3 races has a top 5 and 1 top 10. But where I separate them here is Christopher Buescher is 0.3. He led 0.3% of the laps, whereas Christopher Bell led 2.8% of the laps. I think Christopher Bell. Now I'm going to get them all. Chris Bell and Christopher Buescher. Now I've got it all messed up. I think Christopher Bell, I would give him a slight advantage there, but it's a coin flip. It's an honest-to-God coin flip. I think they're both equally talented drivers. I think they're very good drivers. So that's a coin flip, but I would go Christopher Bell. But if you go on car performance, I would go Christopher Buescher because I think Toyota has been behind. So actually, I will change that because I did not think about that when I started that monologue or whatever. I'm actually going to switch that to Christopher Buescher because Toyota has been off on the road courses. So I'm going Christopher Buescher there over Christopher Bell. So, yeah, that's the Chris B I'll go with. But it's going to be close. CPO fast forward. Alex LeBay, 6. Hey, there you go. Alex LeBay, 6 yesterday. A great present for the Canadian Thanksgiving. Oh, is it Canadian Thanksgiving? Happy Thanksgiving, Canada. That's awesome. I did not know that. But Alex LeBay, former Penty Series driver, probably finally have said it right. He was really good in that, and there you go. He got a 6 yesterday. He's an immense talent. He just needs, like many drivers, he needs a car that can show what he'll do, particularly on a road course. I think Larson started there strategically for sure. He could have qualified up front, says Zach Bishop. It could be. You never know. A lot of games get played at this point in the season. Sammy Smith doing a burnout all over Jesse Love. I did see that, just the highlight on Twitter. Sammy Smith doing a burnout all over Jesse Love's car after the ARCA race at Toledo was hilarious. Love the beating all over his car. He totally took liberty to do a John Force nose to nose with him. So, yeah. So I'll just say it. I didn't have a problem with the move. It was a bump and run. He didn't use him up. He just moved him out of the way. He passed him. He got the win. And it was one of the more gentle moving them out of the way. Now, if you're Love, you're not happy about it. I understand that totally. But then to just go completely mental and use the car as an implement at the end of the race, and then go put your fist in his window, that's over the top. That's too much. Like, come on, dude. You lost the race. He didn't wipe you out. He moved you out of the way, and he had the faster car, and he won the race. So I had no problem with Sammy Smith's reaction. I had no problem with Jesse Love being mad. Just don't go completely insane. Don't go complete road rage with it. So I understand he was mad. I understand being mad in that situation. Just don't completely lose it. Keep your head about you. Keep your wits about you. But Sammy Smith, I think, it was pretty funny what he did. What he did was pretty funny. He was like, I don't care. I won. I'm going to do a burnout right in front of you. If you're going to try to ruin my victory lap, here's the burnout. So I didn't have a problem with it. Let's see. Is Cody Ware still out? He's out for this race because it's a road course. Angus 420. He's out for this race because it's a road course, and he couldn't. His ankle or something was not going to be able to stand up to this much movement inside the car. AJ wins 2 regular season races and makes the playoff next year. Wins the Roval in the playoffs. Calling it now, says Bumblebee. Well, I think picking him to win the Roval is definitely a solid pick. I wouldn't be surprised if he won a super speedway race either, whether it be Daytona, Talladega, and now newly, if you consider Atlanta. I think you could plug him in there. He's also usually pretty good, I think, at Richmond. There's a couple of short tracks he's actually really good at, too. I remember from back in the day when I played on my fantasy team, I would always save, I forget which short track it is, but it's one of the short tracks. You always save AJ Allmendinger for that short track because he was a value pick as your middle tier guy or your lower tier guy, depending on his season, who he was driving for. Robin Mark says Ricky Rudd. Bold prediction. I honestly think both Kaulig cars will make the playoffs. Justin Haley and AJ Allmendinger. I'm excited for Kaulig's future in Cup. So yeah, that's another thing we can talk about. You're picking him to win the Haley to win the 500. I'm just seeing overall improvement from Justin Haley. I think he might just be able to get in there on points. I don't think we'll have 16 or 20 new drivers like we have had this year. So I think there will be some guys that get in on points next season. Bold prediction. But no doubt about it, I think that they have a chance to get in. We're not too far away from my way too early predictions for next season, but we got to crown a champion here first. But no doubt about it, I could see a situation where both of them get in next season. Regardless of his Hall of Fame chance, Allmendinger's stats are pretty impressive. 11 wins over the past 2 years in Xfinity, 1 Cup win, 5 wins this season, and won the last 2 races, both in the round of 12. Yeah, and he didn't come over here as a spring chicken. He came over here already as an established IndyCar guy. So I think he's got a chance of getting in. Like I said, I just don't know if he's like first ballot lead pipe lock, whatever you want to call it. I think he'll be sort of, we talked about Ricky Rudd. He'll sort of be in the Ricky Rudd situation where Ricky Rudd needs to be in the Hall of Fame, but he wasn't a first ballot Hall of Famer. But Ricky Rudd definitely needs to be in the Hall of Fame. And I think at some point, AJ Allmendinger will be in the Hall of Fame as well. And I think he's got, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's got 2 Cup wins because he won that Cup race last year with Kaulig. And I think he won a Cup race with JTG Doherty as well. So I think he's actually got 2 Cup wins, at least 2. 2023 is going to be fun, no doubt about it. 2023 is going to be really cool because hopefully the car will be safer and we'll just be able to talk about the performance of the next gen car. I was at the Xfinity race yesterday. 80% of the fans there were pulling for Dinger to beat Gibbs. I foresee Gibbs becoming the new Kyle Busch as the new guy that everyone loves to hate. I agree with you 100%. I've never heard a man booed as loudly as Ty Gibbs was booed at Martinsville, and I realized it was spur of the moment, but I've never heard a driver booed as much as he was booed. And he was on an arc. He was on an arc before that pit road incident the other week. He was on an arc to redemption. But then that pit road incident happened, and a lot of people that were like, yeah, I'm going to give him another chance, were like, nope, we're done with this guy. So he might be the new villain, and it's very fitting that he's sitting in the 18 car next season. Most likely, it hasn't been confirmed, but everybody's assuming he's sitting in the 18 car next season. So it's fitting that the new villain will also be sitting in the 18 car. So 18 is for villains. How about that? Mark Wachowski, as always, my picks are the 18, solid pick, the 17, solid pick, and the 22 for race day. I like that. Those are all very solid picks, and I think they all have a chance. What are your thoughts on Haley Deegan to Xfinity? Says Traveler. I don't have a problem with it because I don't see the Xfinity series as being better than the Truck series. And that might be controversial to some people, but I think the Truck series and the Xfinity series are dead even. I don't see any difference in them. So I don't think she's making a move up to Xfinity so much as she's just moving to Xfinity. So I don't have a problem with it. I wouldn't have a problem with a guy going straight from the Truck series to Cup. Like, I see no difference in it. I think the competition is about the exact same. Now, ARCA to either one of those is a big jump. But the Truck series to the Xfinity series, it's no real jump. And I don't think in any way, shape, or form. In some aspects, you can actually say the Truck Series is more competitive in certain aspects, and in certain aspects, you can say the Xfinity Series is more competitive. So it's all relative to me. I don't see it as a move up. I see it as a lateral move. Mike George, hello Burger, hello race fans. It is time. Like it's tailgate time. So we're getting it going early. That's the first one of the day. Just so everybody knows, like we're not doing anything insane. Happy Thanksgiving in Canada, says Bumblebee. So happy Canadian Thanksgiving, everybody. What's up, Canada? Zach Bishop, there is never a longer than a 9-lap green run of the Roval. Do you think with the tire issues, this is going to be a wreck fest? So that's interesting. We don't know if we're going to see tire issues at the Roval. I doubt we do, because this particular tire wheel combo setup, this particular car, it really likes a road course. I'm thinking we don't see a tire issue. The only tire issue I could see at the Roval would be tire fall off. If there is no tire fall off, that might play somewhat into some strategy. Exactly how far you can run the tire before it falls off, run the tire before it blows up. So that would be the only thing I could see being a tire situation at the Roval. It was Richmond. AJ was great at. Yeah, I thought it was Richmond. So yeah, AJ's really good at Richmond as well. Mark Wachowski said that was Bumblebee with that comment. So appreciate it, Bumblebee, for fact checking me and getting me straight. I was actually right about one for once. So we're happy about that. We being me and the voices inside of my head. Mark Wachowski says Canada Thanksgiving. Did Canada have pilgrims? I think they did, because they definitely had natives there. And we'll leave it at that. Angus 420, what was the change they made to the rear of the Cup car? They haven't released it to the public yet, but apparently, or to my knowledge, like I said, I didn't have much Twitter yesterday. I didn't have much cell service or reception. But as far as I know, they changed the way the rear bumper attaches. They changed the rear bumper, and they changed a little bit about the middle clip, because of the three pieces bolt together. They changed a little bit about the middle clip as well. So the middle roll cage section. So those were the changes, and I don't think all of the drivers were on board with it. I don't think all the drivers were happy with it, which is not surprising. You're never going to get everybody happy about everything, but there was some pushback on it already. Bold prediction, says Molten Rage, next year, with the help of AJ, he will win the Daytona 500 with a Colic 1-2, with the 16 pushing the 31 to the finish line, beating the 23, being pushed by the 11 because Brad wrecks them all. Okay, there you go. Bold prediction from Molten. We have seen Colic work together in the Xfinity series, so it would not be surprising to see them work together very closely and tightly. Sort of like what if like you had an Eric Jones, Chase Elliott situation at the end of a race? You could definitely see an AJ Allmendinger, Justin Haley situation like that at Daytona. Neil Bonnet for the Hall of Fame, no doubt. Yeah, Neil Bonnet needs to be in there, not only on his driving career, but he had a show called Winners that gave a lot back to the sport. Winners was, for those young enough not to remember it or didn't catch it, Winners was a really great show back in the day. It would be the equivalent of the Dale Jr. download today, because Neil Bonnet would sit down and talk with your most current popular drivers and drivers from the past. It was, I have not ever looked for it on YouTube, but if you can find it on YouTube, check out Neil Bonnet Winners. Probably start with the Dale Earnhardt interview, because that would be, of course, the big one that everybody would want to see. So yeah, no doubt about it. Neil Bonnet definitely needs to be in the Hall of Fame. I got some errands to run before the race piece. I appreciate it, Camaro 50. Camaro 50 with the shout out on the super chat. Always appreciate it. Thank you, Camaro. Super nice guy, and I really appreciate your support, man. Gonna get me to Phoenix in style. I appreciate it, buddy. AJ Allmendinger does have 2 Cup wins. The stats I gave were for the last 2. Oh, yeah. Okay, I see what you're doing there, Eric Sipes. I appreciate that. Yeah. No doubt about it. Yeah, that other Cup win was a long time ago. That's back when he was driving for JTG. Yeah, AJ is a serious threat for 2023. I think so too. I definitely, just without even looking at it, you got to put AJ Allmendinger in the playoffs next year already, just because he's going to get either a road course or a super speedway. Angus 420, bold pick, Kyle Busch, 2023 champion. Dude, Angus 420, dude, I would be stoked with that because it's been a long time since RCR got a championship. Even longer time for Petty GMS. So I'd be okay with any of those drivers driving for them, any of those 4 drivers, or I guess 5 drivers next year because three car team. So I'll be happy with any of those drivers winning the championship. What if Tyler Reddick won the championship next year and then went to 2311? How crazy would that be? Because he's run so good. He's run so good. I mean, I know he didn't make the next round, but that's because he got caught up in a wreck. But he has run so freaking good. What if he wins the championship next year and then goes over to 2311? That would be insane. And like I've said in the past, if he has it to do all over again, I'm not sure that he picks 2311 over RCR just because I hate that they're breaking that team up. But, plugging Kyle Busch in is not going to be a fall off. Ty Gibbs will be a champion like all villains. Smoke Dale Sr., Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick. He'll definitely have a really good chance. He's got a ton of talent. And like I've said in the past, the guys that work with him in late model said one of his biggest abilities is you tell him to do something and he does it. And why that's important is A, he listens. Yeah, he listens. But B, you tell him to do something, he knows how to do it in the car in the heat of the race and starts doing it. So he's got an immense amount of talent, and that's probably his biggest skill. Like they said, if you tell him to drive through the wall, he'll drive through the wall. He'll do whatever you tell him to do because he believes in you and has that faith and trust in you. So that's really big. Cornfed Covers, what's up? What's up, buddy? Great analysis of Ty. Just when you thought the kid had things figured out, he does something massively stupid, says Sonny V. Yeah. Like a lot of people were like, yeah, he messed up one time, but he's 19. We're going to give him another chance. And then a lot of people saw the pit road incident. And those officials were moments away from disaster. And we never want to see that. And obviously, Ty was not doing that on purpose, but he lost his head. He lost his cool for a moment. And that was, you just can't do it. It's unexcusable. There's no excuses for it. And hopefully he learns from that and never does anything crazy like that again. But once again, he lost his head in the race, and that the people that were giving him a second chance, they saw that and they said, that's it. We're done with you. We're going to boo you forever. So now he's going to be, I expect next year, the experiences I've had live at the track, the drivers that get booed, or Kyle Busch is going to get booed, Bo Wallace is going to get booed, Denny Hamlin is going to get booed, and I fully expect Ty Gibbs to get booed. All of those drivers, when they get introduced at introductions, I think they're going to get booed. I think the Kyle Busch boos are going to be much less next year than they have been in the past. I think in a weird way, Kyle Busch's career has sort of, it's ironic that I'm wearing the Tide hat. Kyle Busch's career is sort of mirrored Darrell Waltrip's career as far as socially. Darrell Waltrip was hated the early part of his career. But then when he sort of got forced out of one of his rides, and I can't remember what it was. It might have been, I can't remember, but once he got forced out of his ride, he sort of became a sympathetic figure, and people that hated Darrell Waltrip started liking him. I see Kyle Busch in a very similar manner. I think a lot of people that don't like Kyle Busch are going to start liking him now, just because they kind of, I don't know, they kind of warmed up to him over the course of this free agency drama or whatever. And then there will be some people that are like, I hate Kyle Busch. I've always hated Kyle Busch. I'm never going to like him. There will be some people like that. So like it's NASCAR. Your fans are very passionate and they've got long memories. It's probably going to be a lot like the Indy Road Course. It might be. I'm hoping it's not. I'm hoping it's really good. I hope it's not terrible. If it's like the Indy Road Course, Tyler Reddick wins, and that's going to be a real upset. Yeah, Tyler Reddick would be your champion if he had made it, or would be your championship leader, I think, if he made it to the next round. If he hadn't gotten taken out in was it Daniel Suarez that wrecked? I think Daniel Suarez wrecked in front of him, and Reddick hit Daniel Suarez, and that was that. But that's how these playoffs go, and that's why I don't like the playoffs. So it is what it is. And if we had regular season points, Chase Elliott would definitely be the man. He would be polishing his trophy right now, more than likely. Everything takes a beat, although he's had some bad finishes recently before that win. So I think the points gap did shrink a little bit. I'd have to go look at the Iceberg always posts them. So you can look at what the Winston Cup points would be. on the Icebergs YouTube channel on his whatever you do, those little posts on the YouTube thing. Everything takes a beating at the road course. The driver, the transmission, the engine, the chassis, the tires, the wheels. Yeah, no doubt about it. Let's go, Brandon. BB said, PB looking stoned this morning. I'm not stoned. Like I said, I just had a long night. I'm tired. But that's been a constant criticism of me throughout my entire life. People have always said I look like that. So it is what it is. That's just the way my eyes work. Sorry. But OnlyFans, McLaren 720 GT3. Thoughts on Kvyat finishing 15th after rebounding from a speeding penalty? Yeah, he finally was in a car where he could show his ability and show his talent. And that's what I'm saying. A lot of these international guys, they come over, they've got a lot of talent, but they get in a car where it doesn't matter how much talent you got, you can't do anything in that car. He was finally in a car where he could show something. And obviously, I didn't see the race, but obviously if he hadn't had the penalty, he probably could have got a little bit more out of it. If they used sheer bolt-on rear clip, that would help. That's Mark Barnum. Good point. So let me read the whole thing. If they used the sheer bolt-on rear clip, they would help soften the blow on the rear impact. Would not make the car stronger, but would be safer for the driver. I agree with that 100%. And I don't know why they just don't go to that, especially on the rear, because the Hans device is not made for a rear impact like that. Hans devices don't protect from that. Hans devices protect from doing this, so you don't hit the steering wheel. So at least on the rear, I wish they would do that, but it is what it is. NASCAR has come up with their fix. The same organization who said they like the numbers they're seeing now has a fix that the drivers once again don't like. So we'll just have to see how it goes going forward. I would like to see some schematics on that before I get too preachy about the fix, but some of the drivers already don't like it, so that's telling. They're more expert about it than I would ever be. AJ is my favorite driver in all the series. Love a good comeback story. I think so too. That comeback story, I don't know how you factor that into his Hall of Fame thing, but I think if you can factor something in, he would definitely be a lock for the Hall of Fame first ballot, just because that's such a great story. So I'm glad to see he came back. I don't see Kyle Busch getting booed anymore, says Bumblebee. I think there will still be a few people that boo him. Some Dale Earnhardt Jr. fan holdovers that still are mad about the incident. But other than that, I think he's pulled the Darrell Waltrip card, where Darrell Waltrip went from being the most hated to one of the most loved, which was very interesting, because when I was growing up, everybody liked Darrell Waltrip except my mom, and which her reasoning is totally different. So I don't. I'm not going to say that one on here, but everybody liked him. But I watched all these historical NASCAR videos and stuff like that, and he was absolutely hated when they called him Jaws back in the day. I don't even remember him being called Jaws. I just remember him winning the Daytona 500, and he drove the Tide car for a couple of years. And then he drove that really cool Western Auto car, and he always had really cool cars. His car's paint schemes always looked really good, and I just remember everybody always liking him. But I don't remember the first part of his career where people hated him. When you get booed, you have paying customers coming to see you as much as the guy who gets applause. Mark Wachowski said, yeah, everybody needs a good villain. Without villains, it gets sort of vanilla and boring. And that was sort of the issue with the Jimmy Johnson era. You had the good guy winning all the time, and you had villains. You just didn't have anybody. The villain has to beat the good guy sometimes, as far as that goes. And I know some people are Jimmy Johnson haters too. I'm just saying, as far as that particular role goes, Jimmy Johnson would have been the good guy. The battle between the Bubble Boys of Briscoe, Bill, Byron, and Cindric is going to be something to witness throughout the day. After AJ, my next pick to win would be Bill. Do I have in my final four? Who I have in my final four? I got it. Little autocorrect. Gotcha. I hate it when autocorrect does that. It's so annoying. I appreciate the comment there, Matt Hunter. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I think Christopher Bell's got a definite chance to win this race if Toyota can get over their road course woes. No doubt about it. But Cindric and Briscoe have to be super mad that there was no penalty, and they're now below the cutoff line by -14 whereas they were tied for at 0 on the cutoff line. And I know that at least one of them, I think Chase Briscoe, came out and made some comments. Moulton sent me or tagged me in one of those. Chase Briscoe came out and made some comments about that. And that's what I'm saying. It should have been at least, if you're going to do it post-race, which they should have caught it in the race, it should have been a 10-point penalty because Denny Hamlin lost about 10 spots in that exchange. So it definitely, if you're going to give a points penalty, it should have been a 10-point points penalty, which would have made them only -4 instead of -14. Dale Earnhardt was the king of booze. Poor fella had no fans. Yeah, that's right, man. He suffered his whole career to sell merchandise. Mark Wachowski. Mark Wachowski having a little fun there. And look, I was the biggest Earnhardt fan you'll ever see, and I didn't mind the way he drives. I don't mind the way any driver drives like that, as long as they own it. I don't want them to get out of the car and just be like, oh man, our car got away from me. Shut up. Just say you wrecked him, and say you didn't like him, and say you wrecked him because you didn't like him, and be done with it. Stop with this PC crap. Just say I wrecked him because I don't like him and I didn't like the way he was driving me, so I gave him back what he gave to me. And that's basically what Earnhardt did. He would just smile and be like, he would, a lot of times he would just smile and not say anything and walk off. In the Terry Labonte incident, I was just trying to rattle his cage a little bit. Bumblebee says my 6 picks were the 5, the 9, the 12, the 16, the 17, and the 34. So let's talk about Michael McDowell. Good picks, Bumblebee. Let's talk about Michael McDowell. He's not getting a lot of respect here, and Michael McDowell is, let's see, what's he getting from the old DraftKings here? Some point I will find him. There we go. He is plus 2,500 on the DraftKings. So he's getting a little respect from DraftKings, but not a lot of people are talking about him. But Michael McDowell is a road course ace, and he can definitely get it done here. So don't sleep on Michael McDowell as well. I would have him in my fantasy roster somewhere, especially if he's a value pick, depending on how your fantasy format is, for entertainment purposes only. In NASCAR races, when they said, I'm doing that just to be funny. You only have to say it one time, but I'm going to keep saying it because it's funny. In NASCAR races, when they say that NASCAR in interviews says everything is okay to go, what do they mean exactly? The France family. I don't know. I don't know what they mean. Everything is okay to go. I don't know. I've never paid attention to that, JD Mayo. NASCAR races, when they say NASCAR in interviews, it says everything is good to go. I don't know about interviews. I know when you're listening on the scanner, JD Mayo. I know when you're listening on the scanner, when they say NASCAR says everything is good to go, that means you can either leave your pit stall or whatever they're questioning. They're just saying you're good to go on it. So I don't know. I guess sometimes they don't want people to give interviews. NASCAR rules with an iron fist. So sometimes you just got to check everything with NASCAR before you go. Team Penske fan, hi Baloney. Hope you're doing good, having a good day. I'm feeling sick and not well, but I hope y'all are doing good. I'm fighting a little bit of a cold. I'm nervous for the Roval. Says Team Penske fan. I'm fighting a little bit of a. I just stayed out in the elements too long, in the cold weather too long last night, so I'm fighting that a little bit. But I'm nowhere near as down as I was. The back feels a lot better than it has felt. Still a little tight, but I'm doing good. Hope you get better as well, Penske fan. No doubt about it. Concussions are no joke. I've been in 2 accidents, one in which I rolled in a ditch and my head hit the steering wheel so hard it bent, and then the second, my head broke the driver's side glass when I T-boned. Angus 420 says, yeah, absolutely. And that's why I hope that these fixes that NASCAR does, I hope that they're actually worth it. Bumblebee says, I love DW myself. DW's Chrome 66 car was lit. Yeah, no doubt about it. Darrell Waltrip has given more back to the sport after he retired probably than anybody else. And I think Dale Jr. will surpass him in giving more back to the sport since he retired. But no doubt about it, Darrell Waltrip, he has given his entire life to racing, and it's really cool. So I'm a big fan of Darrell Waltrip too. But I do understand people that are older than me that might remember Darrell Waltrip and not like him because I guess when he was Jaws, he was a terror. DW is the teddy bear of NASCAR, says Angus 420. Yeah, I feel like everybody, for the most part, likes DW. But like I said, he probably still has some holdouts of some people that don't like him. When looking at Racing Reference, with no playoffs, Elliott would be 113 points ahead of Blaney. Okay, so it shrunk. At one point, it was 200 and something points. So that lead has shrunk. So that's interesting. Very interesting, because it was 200 and something. So he's lost 100 and something points to Blaney. So he's had a really bad playoffs, but he did recently get the win. So he might have turned it around. That's a lot tighter than I thought it would be. So that's interesting. Mike George, Bumblebee, congratulations on being promoted to mod rank. Yeah, no doubt. Bumblebee, new mod here. Keep Rich L is just taking a break from social, but keep Rich L in your thoughts and prayers and all that good stuff. So he said he's fine, but you never know. So like I said, just keep him in your thoughts. Hope that the drivers ask for a happy hour back in their meeting with NASCAR. That would be cool. I would like to see him get a 2 rounds of practice. Cassandra Keller, 2 rounds of practice, because 2 hours of practice, it seems like a long time, but if you're working on a race car and making adjustments, it's really not. If you get an hour of practice, you can usually get 2 to 3 hits on the racetrack, or 2 to 3 attempts to go out on the racetrack. So two 1 hour practices would basically give you 5 to 6 times to go out on the racetrack and test your car. So although 2 hours seems like a lot, when you're working on a race car, it's really not. Mark Wachowski, Darrell Waltrip was a great racer who knew how to work the crowd. Waltrip was a master in interviews. They loved him. They hated him, but they all respected him. That's a great way of saying it, Mark. I appreciate that. Yeah, he's definitely he definitely knew how to get the crowd moving. He was sort of like a wrestling bad guy, a heel that turned babyface, that turned heel, that turned babyface. Dale Sr. had no fans, LOL, right? Yeah. Dale Sr. was the ultimate heel. Dale Sr. would be the equivalent of Ric Flair. Dale Sr. He was always the bad guy, but he was the bad guy that everybody pulled for because you saw where he was coming from. That was Dale Sr.'s whole deal. Like Ric Flair was always the bad guy, but people loved Ric Flair because they were like, yeah, I want to live that life that Ric Flair's living. So they saw where Ric Flair was coming from. It is what it is. Earnhardt and Ric Flair pretty much the same character in very different sports or sports entertainment. Larson, FTW, Larson for the win in 2022. FTW can mean 2 different things, and it always throws me off. Larson for the win 2022, or Larson F the world 2022. Either way, I'm rolling with you, Ryan Oliphant. Oliphant. I'm sorry I messed your name up. Let's go, Brandon. Not even his mother. I rattled Mark Wachowski. I rattled his cage. Nice hat, says Supreme Baller. Appreciate it. Supreme Baller, what's going on? Mark Barnum, Ned Yost on the Dale Jr. download this week. I haven't seen that yet. Is a must-listen podcast this week. That's what I've heard. So check out the Ned Yost interview on the Dale Jr. download. It's supposed to be one of the better ones that they've had. They're all good, though. I mean, I've never seen a bad one. I feel Larson does not own up to his wrong. How do you feel, BB? I don't know. It just depends on what side you're standing on. I feel like he owned the Chase Elliott. Like the Chase Elliott thing is the only thing I can really get to as far as the racetrack goes. I mean, he said he did it on purpose, but he wasn't going to apologize for it. So he owned it. I don't think he owned it in the way that people wanted to see him own it. I think people wanted to see him be more apologetic. But he was more or less like, yeah, I did it, and I did it to win. And I think a lot of people didn't like that. But as a Dale Earnhardt fan, like that's what I tuned in to see. So he went for it. And my thing is, he didn't use up Chase Elliott. It was a dirty move, but it wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen in racing. So I feel like he owned up to it, but I also feel like it was a dirty move. So it is what it is. And then there's other things. He owned when he ran into Justin Haley. He owned that. He said he did it on purpose, and he wasn't going to take that type of driving from anybody, even though he didn't realize Justin Haley was pushed into him by his teammate, William Byron at the time. So he owns it. I just think he doesn't apologize for it. So I think a lot of people have an issue with that, the fact that he doesn't apologize for it. So if that is the issue, that he doesn't apologize when he roughs somebody up, then I see where you're coming from. You're absolutely right. He does not apologize. He just says, I did it on purpose, and I did it to win. So I can see where you're coming from there. Mark, I heard it on Spotify. It was an awesome episode. So yeah, definitely check out the Ned Yost Dale Jr. download. It's got the Bumblebee seal of approval. Darrell Waltrip and Dale went to war after the white flag crash at Richmond, Kyle Petty's first win. Darrell Waltrip drove the Bud car for Junior Johnson. Yeah, I remember that. That's when Darrell Waltrip said he tried an old dirt move on me, and I knew it was coming, so I went ahead and hooked him when he pulled it on me, and I took care of that because I'm not going to be drove like that, or something to that effect. But that was definitely, and I don't think I was alive for that one. But I do remember seeing that a whole bunch of times. I like to watch a lot of the old races in the off season. I'll pick a season and I'll try to watch all the races in it. And it's new to me because I don't know. I don't look at Wikipedia or anything and see who the champion is going to be. So it's all new to me. Some of those older race seasons, and some of them you can't get all the races in them. But for the most part, from the 80s up, you can get most of the races a full season's worth. And a lot of people have a playlist set up. So, like, if you want to watch the 1984 season, they've got the 1984 season list up, and that's really cool. I've also wondered what the rule is on saying the word NASCAR in the sport on TV, etc. I think NASCAR is actually pretty cool about it. They've been cool about it as far as I know. Now, if you want to use it to license something, I know the license itself is like right up around $1 million because I had a buddy that wanted to do an arcade. He was going to do a sort of a racing arcade where you would come in there and do your iRacing and stuff like that. And he wanted to put NASCAR on it because he was going to do mainly NASCAR themed races and stuff like that. And to get that NASCAR license, they wanted $1 million just for the name, and that's all you were going to get was the NASCAR license. Like he could have made T-shirts and stuff like that, but he would have had to get them approved by NASCAR before he sold them. But to get the NASCAR license, he would have had to pay him $1 million. And obviously, being one of my friends, he said, "Nope, I don't have $1 million, so we will just do a racing arcade." He never got around to doing it anyway, but I remember he was in talks and $1 million just to license the NASCAR name. So all these companies and stuff like that are NASCAR licensed merchandise companies, they're paying $1 million just to use that name, which is pretty crazy. So Fanatics would be the first one that comes off the top of my head. They're paying at least $1 million for the licensing rights there. Jason Ratcliffe, fellow race fans, happy race day. Everyone ready to see Clyde go back to back. I mean, that's a good chance. There's a good chance. He's really good here. Team Penske fans said Clyde might not even win. So there you go. The Chase Elliott duality. Some people believe he's the best at road courses. Some people think that he has fallen off. So it's going to be interesting to watch. NASCAR needs drivers who aren't scared to speak their minds and show their frustration on the track. Drivers are only human. NASCAR is trying to control the sport too much. That's a fair assessment, Alan Rich. Alan Rich. I had a friend I called Rich Allen in school back in the day. Sorry. Alan Rich says that. So that's a very fair point. You can't rule with such an iron fist, especially in the age of social media that people only say what you want them to say. It's never going to work out that way. And the more you do it, the more they're going to want to speak out. So that's definitely a fair thing to point out. A good thing to point out there. And back to the Chase Elliott thing. Interestingly enough, early in Chase Elliott's career, the criticism was he's just a road course racer. He can't win on road courses. And now this year, he's won 5 races, and none of them are on road courses. So ironically, because he hasn't won a road course, people are like, oh, he's fallen off. He's not the best road course racer anymore. But ironically, he has proven the point that he is not just a road course racer by winning 5 races that aren't road courses. So that defeats that previous argument that Chase Elliott, he only wins on road courses. So that's interesting as well. Thought I would bring that up. I love Racing Reference website. It is owned by Rick Hendricks. So they were fixing to go under. And then somebody had to buy them out and bail them out. because they were fixing to shut it down. And Dale Jr. said, no, don't shut it down. So he raised his voice and once again got things. He raises his voice a lot to get things saved and done. There's a lot of little things that Dale Jr. does outside of the sport that people don't realize that keeps the sport really cool and locked in the way it should be. He don't got to win. He's locked, LOL. Insane crowd and react. Talking about Chase Elliott. Insane crowd and reaction, says Cornfed Covers. Yeah, it's been a good one so far. Ryan says the DW stories on Dale Jr. I download are classic NASCAR. For sure, I would love to see him have Darrell Waltrip. He might have had him on there one time, but I'd love to see Darrell Waltrip on there again. I'd also love to see him have Richard Petty on there again. Jason Ratcliffe said, Bumblebee, you're everywhere. I'm Woody Diamond on Twitch. So, yeah, Bumblebee is on Twitch as well, too. Definitely check her out on Twitch. She does some live streams over there with people. So she is definitely all over the place, as they say. She's also really solid on Twitter. So check her out on all of her platforms. Giving a shout out to Bumblebee, the moderator today. So definitely check her out. She does good work. Larson plus 18. What do you think he needs to advance? Just a solid top 10, or do you think he needs more? I think just a solid top 10. I think a lot of these guys, it's just going to be a solid top 10 because I see the road course, the Roval. I think there's going to be a lot of attrition, whether it be parts failures or whether it be wrecks. Because every time there's a caution, it seems like, and every time they go into turn one, somebody overjudges turn one and they all end up in that wall. So you can always have a situation like that. I just think it's going to be a lot of attrition for one reason or the other. And of course, if you got a long green flag run, you're going to get attrition because tires could go, you could run over something. I don't think tires will pop like they've been popping for the same reasons they've been popping. But I think the longer you go, you can just wear out the tires. The more load you put on suspension parts. We've seen suspension parts go. Can't talk today. Mark Langer says, late to the party, go Dinger. No doubt. AJ Allmendinger's got a definite chance. Let's see. Mark Wachowski says, woo, Ric Flair. Yeah, definitely Dale Sr. was definitely the Ric Flair. OnlyFans McLaren, that tide had it straight up clean. I love it. That's a good play on words, McLaren. OnlyFans McLaren 720 GT3. Dale Earnhardt was not nice at all to anybody, not even Dale Jr., says JD Mayo. He was not nice necessarily to Dale Jr., but he was actually nice to his fans. I can say that for sure. He was nice to his fans. So whether that be strategy, or something else, I'm not saying he was a nice guy, but he was nice to his fans. He was always actually pretty outgoing for his fans, and he did nice things behind the scenes. He just didn't have those come out because he wanted to keep the intimidator persona. But he definitely could be not nice as well. He's very well known for being not nice also. So it is what it is. He was a real person. He's not a character. He wasn't all bad or all good, just like every human is. So Dale Sr. was the Roddy Piper of racing, the bad guy who everyone respected deep down. Yeah, to an extent, except funny enough, Roddy Piper, never a WWF champion. There's a fun fact for you. Roddy Piper was my favorite wrestler. So that's the only reason I know that as a little kid. As I got older, it was like Ric Flair and other people. Stone Cold Steve Austin. But let's see. Okay, so with my driver, Custer will be starting P12. Not bad. We could have been top 10 if Elliott didn't have that good lap on his second try. But P12, I will take it. Better than nothing. So, yeah, Cole Custer, like I said, Cole Custer is another sleeper pick here. He's pretty good here. He has an average finish of 13.5, one top 10 in 2 races. So don't sleep on Cole Custer. Jason Ratcliffe says, you're exactly right. Even if you rooted against him, the 3, everyone respected him, and everyone hated losing to him. That's a good point. That's the other thing. People hated losing to him. Like fans that were fans of other cars, they didn't care if they got beat, but if they got beat by Dale, that's a good point. If they got beat by Dale Sr., God, they hated that. They would rather anybody else win. JD Mayo, you couldn't be more mistaken. Quietly generous was Dale Sr. Yeah, it just depends on how you interacted with him. he could be a tough customer, and he could also be a really nice guy. It's just he was just a rounded person. It is what it is. I can see both sides of the argument there, to be totally honest with you. So it is what it is. And like I said, I'm biased because I liked him. So there's that. Tough to be a cold custard fan in 2022, Moulton. Hang in there. He has talent. So there you go, Moulton. I told you, people respect your fanship for sticking with Cole Custer. Robin Marks, Ricky Rudd. Ricky Rudd is in the chat. No, I'm just playing. He's not in the chat. But Ricky Rudd, another Ricky Rudd shout out. Molten Rage, Brett Griffin is literally also. Oh, God. I don't even want to talk about Brett Griffin. Brett Griffin. God. Brett Griffin literally calling Carson an embarrassment for bringing out the caution intentionally. Like, dude, you did the same thing with Clint Boyer in 2013. Freaking hypocrite. I'm going to tell you what. I wasn't a fan of how Brett Griffin handled what he did with Carson Hocevar. You're at the same racetrack that Carson Hocevar is at. If you're that emotionally invested in talking junk to somebody, why don't you go down there and talk junk to his face instead of doing it on Twitter? And I'll leave it at that. Especially since he called him a punk B. You've got a chance to say something to his face at a racetrack and you don't say it. You say it on Twitter. So who's really the punk B? And I'll leave it at that. You're a 40-year-old man talking like that too. So grow up. And that's all I'm going to say about Brett Griffin. Moulton is a true fan to Cole Custer. Loyalty. Imagine being a New York Jets fan. Yeah, there you go. That's a fair comparison. Moulton sticking it out with Cole Custer, so good for him. Bobby Allison was my hero. He put Chevrolet back in winner's circle. Yeah, Bobby Allison was he's super underrated. Like him and Cale Yarber are probably two of the more underrated NASCAR drivers because they sort of did it before the sport was like huge like it is now. So veterans of the sport remember them, but the newer generation, they never see them. They every once in a while you'll get a Bobby Allison throwback at Rockingham at Darlington at the throwback race. Usually the Coca-Cola red and gold, but Bobby Allison and Cale Yarborough, man, look up their stats and then look them up on YouTube and watch some of the races that they raced at. So it was awesome. I love watching old races. It makes my wife mad. She says the winner isn't going to change. LOL, says Alan Ridge. That's a good point. Jason Ratcliffe, Brett Griffin is priceless. Love listening to him spotting on the scanner or at the track. It's freaking hilarious. So there you go. Some people like how Brett Griffin handled the situation. It is what it is. I wasn't a fan of it only because you see him at the racetrack and, you could have handled it there. Bones, appreciate it, man. Just saw that. Appreciate the shout out. Bones with the super chat. Thank you very much, sir. I am a hardcore Jets fan. Jets, Jets. Gonna beat them Dolphins today. If you do, you got Zach Wilson back, man. So you got a good chance at doing it. I'm a big Zach Wilson believer. Got to get him an offensive line. He can't take all those hits. But if you can get him protected, I think Zach Wilson can take y'all to where y'all need to go because the Jets actually have an underrated defense. The Jets defense is not all that bad. So if you can get something going on the offensive end, you'll be all right. If I'm remembering correctly. I don't know. I'm trying to remember my fantasy football stats. I think the Jets defense is actually underrated. I might be thinking of another defense though, but I do believe in Zach Wilson. So Jason Ratcliffe, you've got a better chance than you have had with him at quarterback. Nothing against the dude from the Ravens. I forgot his name escapes me as we speak. Let's go Cindric. I remember him doing really well on road courses in Xfinity, so I put a couple dollars on him as the long shot. Cindric is definitely a good pick there. He can definitely get it done on a road course. And if the car holds together, this could be the race for him to do it on a road course in Cup. Obviously, he's already got the Super Speedway win. Greg Brown says, Mark Witt, imagine being a Redskins fan. Your team gets outlawed. Yeah, well, there you go. They had to change their name, or didn't have to. They chose to change their name. And I'm not going to touch that because that's not just don't want to get into it. Thoughts on the Daniel Hemrick staying at Colleague for 2023? That's a pretty good move. I like the move for both of them. I think Daniel Hemrick, obviously he can get it done. He's a champion. So it just unless he can get a cup ride, I think you stay at Colleague for the vast majority of it. My grandma brought me a Joe Namath helmet when I was 5. Been a Jets fan since then. I got it autographed by him in 04. That's pretty cool. That is a really cool story. Joe Namath, of course, one of the best ever, called his own shot that he was going to win the Super Bowl and then backed it up. So that was very Ric Flair. You want to talk about somebody that was Ric Flair-like? Joe Namath was Ric Flair-like. Always came out in the minks. Very Hollywood look to him. No doubt about it. BB, do you think the simulators are just as good as track time or practice time? Free to pay free says, no, I don't. Unless you're like, so it depends on the simulator. Now, if you go to the Toyota simulator where they've got like 4 guys working it, I'm friends with Landon Pimbleton, and Landon Pimbleton he's in the Toyota development program. And he was talking to me about the simulator that he went and practiced on in ARCA. I think he's got 2 top 10s in ARCA, and I think 1 top 5 in ARCA as well, driving for Venturini. So shout out to Landon Pimbleton. And if you need a ARCA driver to pull for Landon Pimbleton. He is the Bologna Burger seal of approval driver in ARCA. But anyway, he talked about the simulator that he drove for Toyota, and he said it's totally, because he's a big iRacing guy too. And he said it is like just totally different. Like they put the actual setup. So there is that simulator. So I think that simulator is actually really good for you. Now, as far as iRacing and stuff like that goes, iRacing is good for getting you familiar with the line you need to run at the track. But and I'm a big video game proponent. I like iRacing. I like Forza, Assetto Corsa, whatever you want to race. I'm a big proponent of them, because what they do is you learn racecraft, you learn how to race with each other, and you also learn the main line that you would run at that racetrack. But what you're missing when you're sitting in a simulator compared to sitting in a car, you're not going to be sitting in a 200-degree simulator. You're not, as far as sitting at your house, you're not going to get the G-forces, and you're not going to get the motion. Now, the Toyota one, they got the hydraulics in there, so you're actually, doing all that when you're in it. But as far as sitting in your house, unless you're super rich, my instructor in community college, he was actually one of the guys that built those rigs for like F1 IndyCar drivers, where they actually had the hydraulics and they put them in their house. So there are ones like that. If you're well-heeled, they're about 30,000 a pop just for that hydraulic unit underneath of you. But like if you go all out like that, you can get similar to it, but you're still not going to feel the G-forces, and you're still not going to feel the heat. But it is what it is. I do think you'll never beat seat time, I guess is what I should say. You'll never beat seat time, but as far as repetitions and getting used to a track, I think it's really good for that. So I think it is a very useful tool. I don't want to downgrade it or anything like that, but you'll never beat seat time is probably the best thing I can say about that. You would never catch Dale in a kilt like Roddy wore. I don't know, Mark Bukowski. Have you seen those cutoff shorts? There's a picture of him playing basketball, and he's got some cutoff jean shorts. They're up there mighty high. So I don't know. If you gave Dale Sr. a couple of Millers, you might could have convinced him. He was a Miller High Life man before he became a Bud man back in the day, according to Rusty Wallace. Hard to beat Piper in the they live or they live. How cool was They Live? Oh yeah. I think that's the one where he says, "I came here to chew bubble gum and kick butt, and I'm all out of bubble gum," or something like that. And I think that's also the one where he puts on the glasses and he can see the truth. And then you take the glasses off and you see the spin, see the truth, you see the propaganda. So that's definitely a classic Rowdy Piper movie. And he had like a aneurysm or something crazy happened to him. Like it stunk, because he had just been on the Dan Patrick show doing an interview, and like 2 days later he had left us. So that was a abrupt way, no way to prepare for it. It sucked. Brad K is a Twitter king. Yeah, Brad K is the man on Twitter. As far as Twitter goes, Kenny Wallace, Brad Keselowski, Denny Hamlin, And not necessarily a driver, but Bob Pockrass and Adam Stern. Like that's really as far as racing goes, you don't need much more out of that. Now Rodney Childers and Kevin Harvick are rapidly catching up, so you would add them to the mix too. But as far as the five horsemen or of Twitter, there you go. Yeah, Robin Marks, that's a good point. Bobby Allison lost two sons to racing. Yeah, that was definitely a bummer. He gave a lot to racing as well. Um, Jason Ratcliffe, everyone picks on us Jets fans. We're not as bad as the Lions or the Browns. Come on. The Browns have been pretty decent the last few seasons, at least playoff wise. I watched the old races. JD Mayo. I watched the old races as well. The 1992 was my favorite season. 92 was probably the best season I've ever seen. Just naturally came down to a few points at the very end, and that's what NASCAR has tried to recreate or inorganically, and it hasn't worked out for them. This has been the worst playoff ratings they've ever gotten, so hopefully they look at that and change it. Mark Wachowski, Kale, 3 championships in a row for Junior Johnson, then left, and Darrell got that seat. And Darrell won 2, so you can easily say Kale Yarborough probably had a chance at winning 3. Although that's just, speculation. Chris Davis, yes, I agree. Both and Kale. For entertainment purposes only, pertaining to Brett Gree, I wouldn't want him spotting anyone. Would want to do well. Never met the guy. Just like no holds barred attitude radio. I've never listened to him spot. I just his Twitter is a train wreck when he gets to bashing drivers and stuff like that. I don't get it because even though he's a spotter, he's got to remember he's still part of the media and not me necessarily because I don't necessarily want to go to racetracks and do media stuff just yet. But I know some YouTubers were upset because they got to fight really hard to get those media credentials. And if they ever said something like that, they would get an email from NASCAR saying, you are banned from NASCAR. You're no longer getting credentials. And he went out there and said what he said, and nobody cares. So it is what it is. Mark Wachowski said Bobby lost 1 son to NASCAR and 1 son to a helicopter crash. So that's fair. Not necessarily all on NASCAR. Guess I spoke too soon. Thanks for the Jets and Zach Attack love. Yeah. I think he's on my fantasy football team, just so you know, and I'll prove that to you, Mr. Ratcliffe. Hold on 1 second. There you go, right there. Oh, it's not going to show it. Can we get it? Nope. He's on there. Maybe at that angle. Light's too bright. Anyway, he's on there. I got Zach Wilson. He's actually starting in my flex position or whatever. That was entertaining streaming as I hold my phone up that you can't see to the screen. That was good stuff. Good stuff. Epic fail. All right, let's see. My hero, Buddy Baker, saw him win. Buddy Baker, if you ever need to read a book, if you ever want to read a book on NASCAR, read Buddy Baker's book. I can't even remember what it's called. I got it over here, but I don't want to get up and get it. No doubt about it. His book. I'll have to do something on it. I'll post, I guess, a picture of it. But check out Buddy Baker's book. It's a great book. Joseph Wooten says Chase Elliott back-to-back wins. But to finish Greg Brown's thought, my hero was Buddy Baker. Saw him win the 600. Have seen the Gray Ghost paint scheme throwback at Darlington a couple times. Yeah, and that Gray Ghost is actually in the NASCAR Hall of Fame, or it was a couple years ago. So the NASCAR Hall of Fame does have the Gray Ghost in there as well. And Junior ran the Gray Ghost throwback scheme, if I'm not mistaken. Radcliffe said Landon Pimpleton is signed with Venturini full-time in the 23 for ARCA, and 23 for ARCA. I don't know about full-time next year, but I know he's got a few races this season. And don't worry about not spelling Venturini, Jason Radcliffe. Nobody can spell Venturini. Old home guy, what's going on, man? Good to see you on the stream, buddy. I think Flair was actually Joe Namath, doing it before Rick. Oh, that could be true, Sonny V. That might be one of the areas Rick Flair drew inspiration from. I know Buddy, the Nature Boy Buddy Landell, was partially where he got the name and a little bit of the character. But he said I took it so much farther than Buddy Landell ever did, which is true. I don't even have to see Buddy Landell. I just know Ric Flair took it as far as you can take it, at least for his era. You show the track. You need to walk the track, see the surface. Heat is easy to get out. Your long johns and an old helmet. Yeah. That's true. That's another thing. So you can walk the track. And typically, when we walk the track, what we want to feel is that the areas where the track would load up on a road course, it would just be the turns on a short track. You want to feel to see if there is stickiness where the rubber is laid down. If there's no rubber that's been laid down, the track is going to be most likely really slick. But if the rubber is laying down, the track's going to have grip. So if you walk out on a track and you feel rubber or you feel stickiness on your shoes, that track's got good grip. Fun fact, just in case you guys didn't know that. Neil Bonnet and J.D. McDuffie were other drivers. No doubt about it. J.D. McDuffie is really he did everything by himself. Like it really stunk that he went like that. But he was an all-timer in my opinion. J.D. McDuffie should have some type of representation in the Hall of Fame. Jimmy Means and J.D. McDuffie and guys that just did everything by themselves and made it. Dave Marcus would be another one. Did everything by themselves, basically owned the car, worked on the car, drove the car, and only had maybe one or two people helping them. They deserve spots in the Hall of Fame, especially in the modern era. The fact that they were able to do that in the modern era. Alan Kulwicki, he's in the Hall of Fame anyway, but he was another one. It is what it. They deserve a spot in the Hall of Fame, in my opinion. Going to the rear, unapproved adjustments: Christopher Buescher for steering, Brad Keselowski for repairs, Ross Chastain, Connor Daly, engine change, Eric Almirola, failed tech, and the 78 of Josh Williams, all failed tech and are going to the rear. I always forget Davey was a helicopter for sure. Davey was the man. Okay, old home guy says Rowdy had a cardiopulmonary arrest caused by hypertension, listing a pulmonary embolism. That's what I was thinking of, pulmonary embolism. I just remember the embolism part, and I always get it confused with aneurysm. So it is. That's appreciated old home guy getting it straightened out. But yeah, it was totally sudden when that happened. There was no long-term sickness, so there was no preparing for it because literally I'd seen the guy 2 days earlier talking giving an interview, and then I was like, what? I was like, what happened? And that's what happened. Pulmonary embolism, official cause there. Appreciate it, old home guy. Greg Brown, the Ric Flair show on ESPN 30 for 30 is worth a watch. Funny and I actually you can buy single episodes on Amazon Prime. So I bought a single episode of Amazon Prime just so I could watch that 30 for 30, or maybe I bought a single season. I think you can buy the episode, but I got that episode and I watch it all the time. It's probably one of the best documentaries ever made. They talk about this F1 documentary and how good it was. That Ric Flair 30 for 30 is probably the best documentary I've ever seen in my entire life. It's about as brutally honest as you're going to get. And he just goes through everything. And he's 100% Ric Flair about it. And the people talking on it are 100% honest about Ric Flair. It's a great documentary. And I'm not necessarily a huge documentary person. Couldn't see it, but nice. I don't bother with fantasy football too much. Agitation. It is agitation, but I don't know. It's fun. It's about the only thing that keeps me entertained with the NFL because I'm a 49ers fan, and the 49ers were terrible for a long time, so there wasn't much to watch. So fantasy football gave me something to do during the football season. Also like the Buffalo Bills because they went to the Super Bowl 4 times and never really gave up, even though they never won it. So they were just very resilient. They were very determined. They kept going every year. Kept putting together seasons. And I say that because it is so hard to get to the Super Bowl, and they did it 4 years in a row. That's a very impressive achievement, even though they never won it. So I became a Bills fan. I always respected that. So I have a soft spot, but 49ers are definitely my team. They live 1988. Roddy had the 5-minute fight scene, best ever with Keith David. Yeah, for sure. That is a good movie. He had several good films actually, in my opinion. Roddy Piper, of course. known as a Scot, but he was actually Canadian, and he got the accent from his priests. He grew up in an orphanage, a Catholic orphanage, and that's actually where the accent came from. So, fun fact, he was actually not Scottish; he was Canadian. Rowdy Roddy Piper. Mark Wachowski, JD McDuffie, Sanford, North Carolina, and there's a JD McDuffie appreciation deal on Twitter and Instagram, so check them out, and Facebook, I think. So check them out. I actually talked with that guy at North Wilkesboro Speedway. He's a really nice guy, cool guy, and I enjoyed my time talking with him. I was a big JD McDuffie fan. Everything, I just respected the heck out of what he did. And unfortunately, we lost him. So Hall of Fame should have a row for independents that made history. Rob Mark said, "I agree. That would be a good addition. I might start something here to get that done. I have no power, but I will be loud and very boisterous about it. I'll have to figure out how to go about that though." Road course ourselves off camber, roughness of the circuit if it rains. Oh yeah, that's true. Oh yeah, talking about walking the track. Yeah, and you also want to see if there's like areas that have like dirt and dust, so they might not have a lot of grip there too. A lot of stuff you can look for on a road course. The pitch of the track and everything. Molten Rage, steering for Brad Keselowski. Jason Redcliffe said, "Well said, Mark. Are you a mountaineer as well?" Langren said, Kawicki's definitely the as far as independence, Kawicki's got to be probably like one of the best of all time. And don't forget, Robbie Gordon was an independent for a long time too. And technically, Tony Stewart was an independent, but he was a very different independent because he had a full team behind him. Mark Wachowski, Buffalo Bills are the Mark Martin of NASCAR, the Buffalo Bills are the Mark Martin of the NFL, says Mark Wachowski. No doubt about it. Rackle says, "I remember the day we lost JD, and the crappy thing about losing JD was it was Jimmy Means that ran into him. That was the crappiest part. Like honestly, like both of those guys." It just sucks. It just sucks. That's all I can say about it. Dave Marcus deserves Hall of Fame for being committed enough to drive his car over a spike at Daytona to develop the inner liner with Goodyear. Telling how many lives to save. Yeah, Dave Marcus has given a lot to the sport. He was the original Goodyear man too. When Goodyear and Firestone were battling out, and then Goodyear, of course, and Hoosier. He was always a Goodyear loyalist, and I mean, there's just so many improvements and stuff like that. Dave Marcus, he did it for a long time, and he said once they started going to California and changing the car up, he said it just wasn't the same NASCAR. He was on Dale Jr. Download, so check out the Dale Jr. Download. Actually, check out that Dale Jr. Download, because if you watch the episode with Dave Marcus, they show a late model race in that episode with Dave Marcus. And the car that finished second, the car that you see Ryan Repko pass to win that race, and the car that finished second, that red number 1, that's our car. That's Craig Moore in the red number 1. So our car has actually been on the Dale Jr. Download. Unfortunately, it was getting passed for the win, but we did finish second. And shout out to Ryan Repko. He was rocking the 71, and he won the Hickory Throwback race. But that is actually on that episode of the Dale Jr. Download. So if you watch the Dale Jr. Download episode of Dave Marcus, that red 1 car, that's us. That's the car I work on, or one of the cars I work on. But that was the main car I started working. That is the car I started working on first in late models. So race is about to come on. I'll talk to you guys later. All right. And so with that, I am going to call it a day, because they're probably pretty close to doing the actual race coverage and stuff like that. And I don't want to compete with them. So it is what it is. I appreciate all you guys. Thanks for your time. And other than that, peace.